Without any ado at all, what's in the sky for late January, early February? I'm going to talk about general conditions at this time of year, which is warm. I'll do a quick review of how to read the sky maps. I haven't done this for a year or so, so I thought I'd just give it a quick refresher. Then I'm going to get into the normal stuff. Where's the moon? Where the planets, orientation, stars, constellations, suggested targets for tonight or this coming month, visual and photographic, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the early risers, just to get ahead of myself. The early risers are it's a fairly boring time for the early risers at this stage. Then I'll finish off by things to look out for this month. Okay, does this sound all right? It sounds really awful to me. Yeah. It's okay. All right. Okay. So general conditions at this time of year. First of all, welcome people to 2025. I've been writing 2024 and all of my dates, so it'll take me a month or so to get to catch up. Summer, we had a bit of we've only had one smoke haze event so far this year. Actually, it was probably late last year. It was the one from Garryword. The smoke haze makes for lovely sunsets, but it really stuffs up your seeing. So yeah, that's just what happens at this time of year. Sunset is very late still. It's about 8:45. Dark about 9:20. Astronomical darkness is sort of after 10 p.m. Next month, that's going to wind back to 8:25 p.m. So we're getting a little bit more over the next month as we're getting closer towards the equinox. Sunrise, the same sort of thing. It starts. The sunrise is about 6:10 a.m. and next month it's going to be about 6:45. So we actually get quite a lot more darkness in the next month. Quick little bit for young astronomers. I like to throw a bit in. Orion and Scorpius are two of our main signpost constellations, which I'll talk about shortly. Why is it that we say that they play hide and seek, or they hunt each other, or chase each other around the sky? It's part of the astronomical sort of lore. Anyway, so that's just something for the kids to think about. Right, these maps are. Most of us are probably familiar with them, but new beginners do often have a lot of trouble with maps like this. I normally show the whole sky because that's the way it comes out of the computer. Now the zenith is up the middle there, that guy there. That's the bit directly above your head. It's horribly confusing unless you're lying with your feet pointing south and you're looking straight up. So if you're standing up and facing south, north is behind you. You can't see it, so there's utterly no point in even talking about this part here. The zenith is above you, so what we normally do is zoom into just that area there, and so we're going to change the perspective a little bit. If you can, who hasn't got one of those phones that you can wobble around and it shows you what you're looking at? But if you can, get your phone to get into that mode and hold it in front of you. So you face south and zoom in, so the zenith is near the top, and that's what you're closer to actually seeing. And I've got one of those here, so I've just zoomed in, and so there's the zenith at the top, and we're facing south. So this is us looking south. So you can see the Southern Cross a bit to the left of right in front of you, and Venus, just at the moment, is way off to your right because it's setting in the west. Now, if you turn to the west now, that's moving to your right, you kind of grab the map and you roll it so that west becomes the bottom, and it looks like this. So now Venus is in front of you there, and the cross is behind your left shoulder, so it's sort of like over there. So keep on turning, and you go to the next thing where north is the top, is in front of you. The zenith is still at the top, and you can see Orion. Where's Orion? There it is, and you can see that he starts going from the east and he sort of goes off towards the west. So keep on turning to the east, and now you get to see Mars, which is at the moment rising right. Oops, hang on. I think I might have pressed it wrong button there. There you go. So Mars is rising, and you can see the cross off on your right, which is nearly south. So this this is how you use those maps. Now, if I just go back, I don't know if I can go back. Boop. So if we zoom out, we get all of that information on the one page. So when you're facing south, you're only interested in, oops, I'm very good at this, aren't I? Had lots of practice. When you're looking south, you only look at that bit. When you're looking west, you only look at that bit there. When you're looking north, you only look at that bit there, but you turn the map upside down. Otherwise, you could stand on your head, I suppose. So that's the way you use these maps. Right. And, oh, there you go. So, yeah, unless you're, like I said, pointing with your feet pointing south and you're looking straight up. Okay. Where are the moon? Where is the moon? Is Kelly here today? No. Oh, hello, Kelly in cyberspace. This is a shot taken by Kelly of a maxi and a mini moon, so you can tell the difference in size. I believe that's a sea star image, so don't say I never show sea star images. Right, full moon is on Tuesday the 14th, next week. It's well into the north on Tuesday the 14th, which means it's going to rise and it's going to be low in the sky. It's going to be low in the sky for another week. It's about the middle of its distance, so it's a meh moon. It's sort of neither that size nor that size. It's in the middle somewhere, but you can hardly tell the difference. It rises at sunset, sets at sunrise, which means that it's poor viewing because the light is dead on to us. We don't actually see any features on the moon, so looking at the moon during the full moon is not actually all that amazing. And obviously you can view it all night. And the following as a waning gibbous. Last quarter is on Wednesday the 22nd, it's a week later. Now it's crossed to the south by this stage, so it's going to be getting high in the sky again. So last quarter is going to be a bit irritating for the astrophotographers. It's about as far away as it gets, so it's a mini moon, or mini last quarter, I suppose. It rises at midnight and sets over the following week as a waning crescent. It's going to get thinner and harder to see as it approaches the sun, as always, and you'll view it in the morning and later this week in the early afternoon. So the new moon, this is the astrophotography's time, it's on at the end of January. It's opposite, it's with the sun, so it rises at sunrise and sets at sunset. It turns into a waxing crescent, very thin after the next few days after that, and you'll be able to see it. It's just a few minutes after sunset. It'll be very close to the sun and hard to see. First quarter, 5th of February, rises at noon, sets at midnight, which is the best time for viewing for if you've got a star party going. It's a waxing gibbous for the week after that. It's going to be back in the north, which means it's going to be low in the sky again for the next 10 days or so. And all these numbers and phases are all that little graph I was showing last year. Obviously, the next full moon is a week after that, and that's just in time for the next meeting. Okay, moving to the planets. Let's see. Mercury, it's a morning object. It's very much in the twilight. It's going to be very, very hard to see. So it rises about 4:45. It's kind of difficult. Venus, it's still an evening object. It sets fairly late. Greatest elongation is on the 10th, which is in a few days from now. So it's good evening viewing right now. I think it's probably still behind buildings from the lower observatory. Mars it rises at about 9:45. It's coming into opposition shortly. It's only a couple of weeks away now, so it's the best time to observe Mars. Elon Musk needs to know it's a great opportunity to actually go there. Wouldn't that be nice? Jupiter sets at about 3:45. It's still good evening viewing. It's at just after dinner time, after sunset. It's more or less crossing the meridian, so it's kind of in the north, about 45 degrees upwards. It's very easy to find. Remember to check the phenomena tables in the ASV yearbook for shadow transits, red spot viewing, etc., etc. If you don't know how to do that, ask me or Colin or any one of the demonstrators. The monthly pages, that's the ones sort of that show all the monthly stuff. They also show the positions of the moon each night. So you'll be able to see those little squiggly diagrams down the side of the page. Saturn it's past its prime, I'm afraid. But it sets just before midnight. It's still following Venus, fairly close to Venus at the moment. The rings are getting very close now. They will actually close after conjunction, which means that they'll close when it's a morning object. That's the 23rd of March. It's still a couple of months away. I'm kind of looking forward to Saturn completely with no clothes on. That's Saturn will be naked, not me. Uranus, speaking of Uranus, sets at about 2:30. It's good evening viewing. You do need to be able to find it. It's still ahead of Jupiter. It's actually not very far from the Pleiades. Neptune, it's in a bit of a conjunction with Venus and Saturn. It's again a bit hard to find. You need an SCT, and it's kind of greeny blue colour. It sets just after midnight, about half an hour after Saturn. And Pluto is very close to the Sun now. It's kind of near conjunction, so it's going to be hard to see until late February. Okay. Now, we have been hearing quite a lot about a planetary alignment. There is no planetary alignment. It is complete alternative facts. However, there are going to be 6 planets in the same sky around about now towards the like end of January, maybe early February. So the 6 planets are Venus, and then right next to it is Saturn, and if you can find it, Neptune, not very far away. Then there's a gap, and there's Uranus, and Jupiter's not very far from Uranus, and like I said, it's on the meridian, and Mars is just rising. So we've got 6 planets in the evening sky about now towards the end of January, which makes morning viewers very, very bored. So that's, I think, what they call that. They call it in the media as a planetary procession or parade or something like that. But it's certainly not the alignment that the astrologers are talking about. Remember also the date is not super critical. We're not talking, it's got to be the 28th of January. It's, it's a week here and there. It's not going to make much difference. Okay, so let's get orientated to the evening stars. This is at 10 p.m. facing south. Although remember, stand on your head, you can see the north. The Southern Cross, one of our little signpost constellations, is down there. It's getting towards 8 o'clock, which means it's starting to rise. It's been dragging on the ground for the last couple of months, but it's starting to rise again. Just get rid of that. There you go. Now Orion is approaching a meridian. Maybe I'm just getting old, but these things are happening faster every year. Obviously Scorpius is not there. The orientation stars, we've got back to the clock. We've got Canopus, which leads the cross around the pole. So we've got there's the cross, and there's Canopus, and Achenar is the next one. It's opposite the cross. So that's a sort of a way of finding out which one's Canopus, which one's Achenar. Then you've got Fomalhaut, which is sort of obvious, but it's kind of dwarfed by Venus and Saturn, but actually less Saturn. And Sirius, it's bright, 45 degrees in the east. It's very obvious. Aldebaran, it's about to pass the meridian, but probably the easiest way of finding Aldebaran is by finding Jupiter first. Procyon is between Orion and the east-northeast horizon. It's not normally a star that I use as an orientation, but it's kind of there. For planets, like I said, we've got Mars, we've got Jupiter, we've got Saturn, and we've got Venus. Okay. So moving to the visual targets. This is for the visual astronomers because they get the best time. Okay, we've got Saturn. These are what I'd start with. Saturn. Actually, if you can't see Venus, you probably can't see Saturn. I've left out Venus because it's dull as dishwater. But Saturn's there. Saturn's still pretty good. There's 47 Tuc at this time of year. It's sort of a little bit past its best, but it's not too bad. And that's circumpolar, so it doesn't really matter. P. Eridani, cat's eyes. It's a yellow double, really, really easy to find. It's only 1 degree off Achenar, slightly to the north from Achenar. You can actually see it in your finder scope, so it's a really good one to find. Theta Eridani is less easy to see, but it's another good double. It's almost straight up, so it's what I call a donut warning because it's in that area where it's a bit hard for a lot of telescopes to see if your dob can't point straight up and stuff. Mark calls it a dob hole. There's a Tarantula Nebula, which is good pretty much all the year round, but it's pretty much at its best now. I've been using it as a test image. Pleiades is very obvious. It's the best time of the year for the Pleiades right now for late evening. It's on the meridian, so I got a shot of it last night. Gamma Arietis, Mesatham, it's kind of got squashed by the moon tonight, but of course the moon's going to move off that way. So, sorry, yeah, that's right. So it's that's a nice double. At this time of year, I'm going to have to cough again. Sorry. M42, Great Nebula in Orion, is everybody's favourite visual nebula. It's very, very bright and very obvious. It's the middle. It's the middle star, if you call it a star, in the sword of Orion, not the belt. It's the sword. Jupiter is still there, obviously. Please look at Jupiter. It's really cool. Pollux. Now, Pollux is just rising now. It's near Mars, and Pollux is a double. And I didn't know that until relatively recently, and it's actually really cool. So it's easy to find too because it's near Castor. Castor and Pollux are the two twins in Gemini. Obviously, Mars. You probably want to wait until later in the evening when it's closer to the meridian, because it's coming into opposition. You will probably be able to resolve it quite well as a disk. It's getting quite large. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. It's well worth watching. I think this is the last one. Southern Alberio is my favourite double. It's a really, really pretty coloured double. There's one blue one and one yellow one. So that's very pretty. And it's not too difficult to find. It's not far from Sirius. Okay, so they're the visual targets. Let's move to the photographic stuff for the true geeks. 10 p.m. facing south again. Okay, so we've got NGC 1365, donut warning. Now, this is one of Yuri's photographs from quite a while ago. I've actually repeated a lot of this because I didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of preparation for this talk, so sorry about that. Large Magellanic Cloud and the Tarantula Nebula. That's one of the remote domes photographs. We've got the Pleiades, which no show is complete without an Andy Pang photograph. I got a shot of the Pleiades last night, and it was just nothing like that. The Pleiades is a super big cluster. I don't know what focal length he was using, probably a camera lens or maybe a red cat or something like that. It's very, very short because that is enormous. I can't get that into a field with the remote dome, which has got an Esprit 100 and a 268. So that's about that big. It's not quite big enough to show the Pleiades. 47 Tuck and the Small Magellanic Cloud. Thank you, Jeff Healy. So that's another fairly wide one. There's another Eddie Pang photograph of the Crab Nebula. I don't think I could possibly take a shot like that. That's awesome. Rosette Nebula, that's one of mine, I think, in hydrogen alpha. So that's also really, really big. That's actually two shots stuck together. Yeah, that was the one I got a couple of nights ago. It wasn't a good night. Elon was not kind that night. That's just a sub. It's the reason why it's not so bright. Carina Nebula. Some idiot took that using not a mobile phone. Notice. So congratulations, Mark. But one thing, dude, you can't read it. It says, dude, you need a coma corrector. That star and that star are shit. No, it's a coma problem. Yeah. Southern Pleiades is becoming, it's down there. That's coming into view again, and that's very, very pretty. My photograph probably doesn't do it justice, but if you're a visual astronomer, have a look at the Southern Pleiades. They are pretty as, and it's the bottom end of the Diamond Cross, which is that? No, That one. No. That one. So that's pretty much all I've got for this. For the early risers, there's not a lot going on. As you can see, the Southern Cross is rising. It's coming up towards the meridian. It's about 11 o'clock. Get rid of that. Orion is now setting, and this is for the young astronomers. That Orion is setting, and Scorpius is rising. They're chasing each other around the sky. Planets, buckle yourself in because there's not an awful lot going on. Jupiter has gone. Mercury is just rising. That's hardly visible. Mars is kind of the only one that's really any good at looking at. So sorry, guys who have kids and dogs, you're not going to see much. Okay, final notes. Some random observations. First of all, Venus's greatest elongation is on the 10th, which means it's going to be sort of the maximum distance from the sun. Mars, obviously, it's Mars time of the year. 13th of January is its closest approach, please. And 16th of January is the opposition. They're very close to each other. Late January, the sky full of planets, remember. The end of January, Uranus is stationary, starting retrograde, which means it's going to chuck it in reverse and go backwards. The 5th of February, Jupiter is stationary, but that's when retrograde ends, so it stops going backwards and starts going forwards. Early February, please start watching Corona Borealis again. It has not yet gone off. I've taken so many photographs of it, and it's probably going to be visible again. So don't tell me it's got about a week before it goes. So anyway, we'll see what happens, and I'll see if I can get some more photographs. The light curve has been wobbling around all over the place. Now, this is a quick additional note about astrology and astrology web pages. Remember, please, people, astrology, be nice. Astrology has been the precursor to astronomy and the modern scientific methodology. Historical astrologers, yes, Kepler and Brahe, and also Copernicus, I believe, studied the motion of the planets very, very carefully and accurately, and that is what gave rise to modern astronomy. So because they were very interested in what the planets may or may not be doing to you, they observed them very, very carefully. And that is where we got our data, or should I say that's where Kepler got his data. So a modern astrologer, some agony aunt in the newspaper, will make a statement such as, Jupiter is entering retrograde on this date and therefore you will feel anxious. From that, you read, Jupiter is entering retrograde on this date. And you just ignore the rest of that. The factual part of that sentence is entirely valid. And that's the reason why I get so much of my information from astrology pages. So there you go. All right. Thank you.